The 484th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBet.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month. Start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and legal in 40 states. Head on over to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. And we're brought to you by the SGPN NFL Playoff Challenge, sponsored by Edge Boost. Free to enter, and $20,000 in Edge Boost deposit bonuses are up for grabs. Enter today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NFL playoff.
Howdy ho, degenerinos. Welcome to the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, episode 484. It's going out to our friend Eric and his big size 15 boot. What a freak. And there's the song again.
I did it again, man. I haven't done it in weeks. That's on
me. A great start to episode 484.
We're back, baby.
That wasn't me screwing up, by the way. It was my host. I'm one of the hosts I'm the host that usually screws up, Jeff. Shocks, Fox, thank you for coming to the show. We got UFC back, baby. Not just our theme song being played at the wrong spot. That's not the only thing that's returned. The UFC has returned as well. And just in the nick of time, everyone seems to be itching for a UFC event. So we're going to be covering that today and tomorrow for you. Not by myself, of course. I have the man who has a itchy trigger finger on our theme song is Daniel Gumby Reland. Hello.
If you don't stop it, it auto plays again. And so
yeah,
it fades out. It naturally fades out. So you don't think to stop it. Yeah. That's not my fault.
All right, Gumby, your hat. Tell us about your hat.
So this one is actually not a minor league baseball team, but there's a group of artists called the Clink Room, who are a bunch of people who make logos for baseball hats. And when they have concepts that they can't get published by minor league baseball teams and stuff, they send them to this company and they make hats out of them. And so this one is a New Orleans voodoo concept hat. So I got that going on right there. Look at that. New Orleans voodoo.
A deep cut, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like any of the ones from that website are a deep cut, but the art is always really, it's a way weirder than minor league baseball hats, and that's certainly saying something.
My hat is the SGP hat, of course. It's a fitting time to be wearing SGP gear because we have a sale in our store right now till the end of the month. Playoffs is a promo code, 15% off everything in the store, but just buy ours. Well, you can buy other people's stuff, I guess. I was going to say just buy our stuff. We're in a little friendly contest with the other channels to see who can sell the most merch, but so you buy our stuff mostly, but if you insist on buying stuff from other shows, that's fine as well. So
maybe putting a note that like this is only for the MMA Gambling Podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that way they count it for us or something. Yeah.
Playoffs 15% off. That's all you need to know there. Plus, as Gumby said off top, we got a playoff challenge going on right now at SGPN. We are proud to announce it, and there it is for us folks, you folks joining us on YouTube. You can see our hats, and you can see that we have a NFL playoff challenge going on right now. Edge Boost, it's a first bet now, pay later provider that enables you to double your bet at any sportsbook or DFS site with no interest. The contest is bankroll style, and you start with 10,000 virtual units. At the end of the playoffs, the biggest bankroll will win credit into higher advanced limits from Edge Boost. Here's what the winners get. Top 3 get a deposit match from Edge up to $2,500 with no interest or fees. Top 25 get a deposit match from Edge up to $500 with no interest or fees. If that sounds good to you, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NFL playoffs to enter. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NFL playoffs. Boom. Do you have a virtual unit as well, Gumby?
I'm not. No virtuals.
He didn't want to answer, but he didn't.
I didn't. Yeah, I was trying to find a way to dance around it.
I'm still, as people will notice, I'm in a different spot, and my mic's in a different spot, and I'm paranoid that I'm not going to be heard, and I need to be heard, Gumby. But
why? Because you have slightly worse picks than me, and you want to make sure everybody hears them.
You think we're not bad picks this week, Gumby?
I just said slightly worse than me. Mine are good, so yours can be average.
All right, we probably should jump into it, right? 7 fights we got to do.
Yeah, we got a bunch of it.
All right, so of course we were talking about UFC Fight Night, Ankalaev versus Walker 2, the rematch of the silly first fight. We get a rematch. It's going down in the UFC Apex naturally, January the 13th. We've been itching a long time for a UFC fight card. This is actually, I was going to say we would take anything. This one's a pretty solid fight card. There's been a lot of moving parts, as people like to say. Fights have fallen off, been added on, but we're left with a solid 12 fight card. We're going to do the 7 prelims today, the 5 main card fights tomorrow for you. Thoughts on the prelims, thoughts on the lines for the prelims, any thoughts? Anything in your head?
I'll write about where I would have expected them to be. There's a couple that are maybe a little inflated or a little deflated, which, that's always a good time and gives us stuff to talk about. I would also say, I like seeing a few of the Contender Series prospects pop up here. There's a couple of guys who I was itching to see again after the Contender Series, and we're getting a chance to see them debut here.
It's fantastic. All right, so, and this is something you'll like. This is a 4 p.m. start time for the prelims. That works for you?
Yeah.
ESPN Plus, 4 fight card. It's right, 4 p.m. start, 7 fight card. Whoa, let's get jumping right into it now. Okay, enough chit chat, folks. And we're starting with flyweight. So we're starting things off well because we like our flyweights. This is Joshua Van versus Felipe Bunes. 3 5-minute rounds at 125 pounds. That rhymes. Bunes, Filipino, not Filipino like the country, but Philip Inho, which means little Philip, right? Or little Felipe, I guess.
Little Felipe, yeah.
Yes. He's not Filipino. If he was Filipino, he could be the Filipino. That would be amazing. But anyhow, he's Brazilian. He's 13. I guess he wouldn't be Filipino if he was Brazilian. I mean, Filipino, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. It could be half and half. Never know.
He wouldn't be Filipino if he was Filipino. He's 13-6, 3 knockouts, 8 submissions. He's been submitted twice, so pretty durable guy. 19 fights. He's won 2 straight and 3 of 4. He won via TKO his last fight. Was the LFA champion and a regional champion. Used to fight at bantamweight. 2011 was his pro MMA debut. 2 inches taller than Van. 4 inches reach on him. Plus 205. Bunes had a fight schedule, right? That fell through his debut.
Yeah, and if you listen to the Top Turtle MMA podcast this week, you'll hear a little bit about maybe why that one fell through. It was a tainted supplement with some picograms. When's the last time you heard the word picograms?
John Jones is coming back, baby. He's him. Not, though. He was the issue or not?
He's also not coming back.
No. Was the Filipino the issue or not? Or was it his opponent?
Yeah, it was him. Yeah, he said there was some small stuff in one of his samples. Actually, USADA didn't even flag him, but the Vegas Athletic Commission wouldn't let him fight.
All right, keep that in mind. He has elevated picograms. All right, he's fighting the fearless Joshua Van. He's 9-1, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been submitted 1 time. This is his. He's taking this fight on short notice, so keep that in mind. Short notice fighters, as I've drilled in everyone's heads, win 36% of the time. So not that great. Let's get back to the right tab, shall we? All right, Van. He's 2-0 in the UFC. He's won 7 straight fights. He's not lost since December 2021. He was the Fury FC champion. Before this, 12 years younger than Bunes, minus 210. All right, Gumby, kick things off for 2024.
I'm actually going to go dog out the gate here. I'm going to take Felipe Bunes here in his debut. And part of the reason why for me is, I know Joshua Van has looked exceptional in his UFC stint, and I know a lot of people are really high on him. But the fact of the matter is this is a 22-year-old guy who essentially didn't get a fight yet. And, I know, people are going to be like, yeah, he was probably training. He was probably in good shape already. He did get 2.5 weeks. It's short notice, but like maybe not the 3 days or 5 days that sometimes we see. But he's a 22-year-old guy who, hasn't shown any like chinks in the armor yet, but he's a 22-year-old guy. He probably has some chinks in the armor. There are probably some issues with stuff he's had. And without a full training camp to prepare for somebody who is very different than his last opponent, I think there's a lot of trouble, right? Because like if you look at the other Peruvian dude, Kevin Borges, you look at Kevin Borges, who is Joshua Van's last opponent. It's a guy who likes to come forward and likes to box. It's a guy who likes to put the pace on somebody, much like Joshua Van did. And that guy won the first round pretty easily, but then kind of ran out of gas. And Felipe Bunes is not that. Felipe Bunes is a guy who will kind of let you dictate the pace, has mean counters. Ask Yuma Horiguchi in his last fight. He just floored Yuma Horiguchi with a very mean punch. And of course, we've seen Yuma on like road to the UFC and whatnot like that. Like, so he's a high level opponent to take the LFA title. And in addition to having really mean counters with really big power, and in fact, I think he has better power than Joshua Van, I also think the jiu-jitsu is a huge difference maker here. Felipe Bunes, high level black belt. You know, you mentioned all the submission wins he has. And yes, he does have a couple of losses that way as well when he was fighting for ACA over in Russia. But like the fact of the matter is like his jiu-jitsu is incredible. And he's been doing jiu-jitsu contests since they canceled his last fight. Joshua Van, you know, he's had good takedown defense so far. He could stay off the mat, but really it only takes being like stunned once or taken down once that we could see a hole in grappling from Joshua Van that we haven't seen before. And for all those reasons, I like the dog money here, especially getting 2-1 on Felipe Bunes.
You sold me, Gumby. I'm flipping. Yeah. Well,
right out the gate.
Yeah, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't fade a short notice guy. But yeah,
you also hate you also hate the old man too, though. That's your go-to.
That's true. But that may play up here, fighting a young guy, a young unprepared guy.
That's what I think.
Yeah. And Bunes is got a lot of recognizable names on his resume as well. So he's been around and he's fought some good guys. So why not take a swing? And I could use another dog or so. So let's do it, Gumby. Let's go in together on a dog. Okay.
I love it.
All right. And we're also all in on DraftKings as well together. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, is bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. All the lines, I won't give you any NFL lines because I really don't know. Is there an NFL line that you like on the DraftKings Sportsbook, Gumby?
Yeah, Cowboys all the time. Cowboys,
obviously, Cowboys. I guess I could have told you that as well. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code SGP. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code SGP. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. I'm void. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Woo! All right, let's get our strength back and talk about Game Time, because that's where you can spend some of your hard-earned money there. Game Time, because Game Time is the place to go for last-minute ticket deals. I've checked out the tickets there. They got UFC, they got concerts, they got sports, they got it all. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets on football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, MMA, and more. Game Time guarantee means you always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. It's perfect for the playoffs. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we got one fight under our belts. Let's go to lightweights. Tom Nolan, Nikolas Motta. Iron Nikolas Motta. Iron Nick is 13-5 with 9 knockouts. He's been knocked out 4 times, submitted once, so he owes his rounds in that aspect. 1-2-1 no contest in the UFC. The no contest came in his very last fight. 1-0 in Dana White's Contender Series. He was the CFFC champion before the UFC. 1-1 in the Ultimate Fighter, way back yonder, quite a few years ago. Used to fight at featherweight. 2012 Pro MMA debut. He's been outstruck in the UFC and Contender Series by almost 2 strikes a minute, which is not good. Minus 1.96. He does have better grappling stats than Nolan, but Nolan's based off of 1 fight. and Motta's at plus 275. Big Train, Tom Nolan, 6-0 with 4 knockouts. This is his UFC debut after winning on the Contender Series. He's 1-0 there. He's won 4 straight fights via knockout or TKO. 6 inches taller, 3 inches reach, 7 years younger. Better striking stats and over 3.5 times more active landing strikes than Motta, but that's based off of 1 Contender Series fight. So take it with a grain of salt. In that fight, he outstruck his opponent by almost 8 strikes a minute. He's at plus 7.95. He's at minus 286. I'm taking Nolan here. I'm taking the Big Train with the big power and the size and the youth on his side. I think that's a good combination here. Before you make your pick, did you like Nolan coming off the show? Everything's just a blur to me. So
I didn't like him going into the show. I think sometimes I fade those big tall guys. See Sam Patterson, and I pretty much faded Sam Patterson until I finally bought the hype, and then Sam Patterson got knocked out. So I'll probably do the same here with Tom Nolan.
So you got your heart broken once, and now you're hesitant to get
by a tall Englishman too.
Short kings and tall guys. So you got to just medium ground for you. The porridge has to be just right. Goldilocks.
But the bottom line here is that Tom Nolan should have a massive advantage on the feet. Like this dude, you mentioned already, he's 6 inches taller than Nikolas Motta. He fights longer than Nikolas Motta. Motta's more of like a hooks and fight in the phone booth kind of guy. Nolan does a really good job of establishing range. Kind of my only problem with him ever has been I don't really like the way he backs up. It's a problem I constantly have with tall guys is that tall guys, get in the habit of backing up like tall guys and being safe. Luckily for him, I think it works here. I think even if he does the tall guy thing, I don't think Motta reaches them. And in addition to that, Motta's last 4 losses, every single one of them a knockout. And some guys you would classically think it's knockout artists, some guys you would not classically think it's knockout artists. And Nolan hits hard enough to knock just about any lightweight out. So I will take Nolan probably catching Motta on a counter and just putting him clean out. So, yeah, Nolan is the pick here.
Nolan is the picker. You've, I don't know if we need to do an intervention, but you've really been hammering people with the backing up. You really have people to back up.
It's really a problem with the tall guys. And maybe it's just because we've talked about tall guys more often. There's more Stefan Struve looking bastards out there now. But and I for the record, love Stefan Struve, but the dude backed up in a straight line and Roy Nelson knocked him out, who's shorter than me. And I think ultimately, it will always be a problem for the guys who are too tall for their division, unless they learn from it. Nolan doesn't look like he's learned from it yet, but I think he will.
Gumby is a self-hating tall guy.
Yeah,
aren't you?
Yeah, I'm the same height as Tom Nolan. I'm just a little heftier.
Yeah. I saw an SGP shirt peeking out a hoodie when Gumby moved up. There you go. Don't forget, folks. Help us win the contest. 15% off playoffs. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. I don't think I said that off the top. That's where you go. All right. Where are we going? We're going to featherweight. We're bouncing all around weight classes here. Westin, Wilson, Gene, Silva. Is it Gene? It's Gene, right? Because he's Brazilian.
You can call him Lord Silva. He likes being called Lord Silva.
Oh, you just wait. He's got a good nickname coming up. We're going to tell you about WW Westin Wilson first. He's 16-8, 5 knockouts, 11 submissions. He owes his rounds. He's been knocked out twice, submitted 4 times. So, yeah, he owes his rounds. 0-1 in the UFC. He's won 3 of his last 4, but he did lose his last fight. That was a TKO loss. Who did he lose to, Gumby?
It was something short notice. I do know that because he was a guy. He's a guy who seemed like a prospect a long, long time ago and is now just getting his shot at 34. So I'll put the intern on it.
Yeah, because I can't remember, obviously. You're supposed to just have these answers right at your fingertips for me, but that's okay. He's fought.
It was Joe Anderson Breedu.
Okay, yeah, no shame. No shame.
Not on short notice, it is.
No. All right, Wilson has fought at bantamweight, lightweight, and welterweight. This one is at featherweight. He 1-0 in Bellator, 2014 Pro MMA debut, so he's been around. 1-0 as a pro boxer, 6 inches taller than Silva, 4 inches reach on him. He got outstruck by Joe Anderson Brito by 6.21 strikes per minute. He's at plus 625. We have some large lines this week. Maybe we'll get in on some of them, Gumby. Who's to say? Lord Assassin is Silva's nickname. 11-2, 8 knockouts, 2 submissions, never been finished in a fight. He owes his rounds as well. This is his UFC debut. 1-0 in Contender Series, 8-0 over his last 8. Obviously, he's not lost since April of 2018. Used to fight down at bantamweight and up at lightweight. 7 years younger than Wilson. Better striking stats and 4 times more active landing strikes based off of 1 fight for him, and better grappling based off that fight as well. He outstruck his opponent on Contender Series by 1.07 strikes per minute, minus 800. What were your thoughts on Silva coming off the show? And then you can make your pick.
I loved him. He's a fighting nerd. I love all the fighting nerds.
Yeah, I know. I saw that on his page. Like, oh, obviously we got to pick him.
He's a fighting
nerd.
And
then I saw the line. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll pick him.
And I will say this about him as a fighting nerd is like, so despite me just saying I love all the fighting nerds and they all seem to come out looking, sharper than even my tape shows on them, like Carlos Praches. I can't say enough nice things about Carlos Praches. He seems to be maybe the most fundamental and like smartly put together of like the lot of them. Cause
he's a real nerd. Cause
like Vinicius Lockdog is like a wild man. Right. And like Praches maybe like lets go a little bit more than he needs to, I see Jan Silva is more, or Gene Silva is more of like a featherweight Kai Bohayo. He's like really composed in there. He's really smart. He doesn't overextend himself. He's fine winning a decision as long as he's like clearly beating his opponent. And the beauty of this is like when he does let go, he's got big power. When he chooses to grapple, he's got good grappling. And he just so happens to be fighting a guy who fights with his hands down. Like that's my biggest issue with Westin Wilson is like he's got kind of like a Wonder Boy stance because he trains with Wonder Boy, so that makes perfect sense. Because he's got a Wonder Boy stance where his hands are down, karate style, and like that can work when you're the fastest guy in your division. But this is a 34-year-old featherweight, and I don't mean to disparage him. I like the guy. I think he's got probably would have had way more potential if he made the UFC at 26, 27. But just like, you're not the fastest featherweight in the world at 34 years old. And especially against these guys who are way younger than you, way more athletic than you, and like probably just going to crack you on things. I will also say, like, I've seen more than a couple spinning heel kicks from Gene Silva. And I've seen Westin Wilson eat more than a couple. So just going to throw that one out there.
Fun. We got to get a spinning heel kick prop on this one then.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
All right, I'm taking Silva as well. But yeah, maybe you'll have to take a prop to make it worthwhile, or is he throw him in a parlay material?
I don't know. He's not even going to really improve what your parlay numbers look, right? Like that doesn't
exactly.
His parlay doesn't look. Yeah, he's going to add like $20 to a 6-leg parlay.
I just wanted to say our catchphrase. It's been a while.
Hashtag
throw him in a parlay. That should be a shirt in the store, Gumby. Get on it. All right. I'm going to tell you about some more of our lovely sponsors that are keeping us in your ears and eye holes, like Cut, K-U-T-T. Cut is we're brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and legal in 40 states. Peer-to-peer social betting is a new and better way to bet directly against your friends or other users on sports, politics, pop culture, and other events with verifiable outcomes and tons of fun social features. I'm putting pauses in the middle of sentences. Social features that give it the feel of a betting social network. Cut offers lower VIG and fully customizable odds. Create your own bets. Cut handles the payment side of things, so you never have to chase anyone down for $4. Social features equals group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, and more. And your rewards, or you can get your cash back every single time you bet against your friends or other users. Head to KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for 10% deposit bonus. Now I'm going to tell you about Underdog, our good friends at Underdog. Underdog Fantasy is a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. NFL, NBA, NHL, college basketball, college football, MMA, they got it all. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. Are you going to give our listeners and viewers a Cowboys play, or do you have something else, Gubby?
I'm going to go something else. The MMA lines have started coming in for Underdog Fantasy, and one I like that we already talked about for this weekend, Gene Silva. I think he's going to beat Westin Wilson. As I mentioned, he's a patient guy too, and they've got his significant strikes listed at only 18.5. So play the higher than on Gene Silva's significant strikes.
Ah, fantastic. Watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash over at Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit of up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. Moving right along, down to bantamweight, Farid Basharat versus Taylor Lapilus. I will tell you about Lapilus first. Double Impact. Taylor Lapilus is 19-3, 4 knockouts, 6 submissions, never been finished in a fight, 4-1 in the UFC over 2 stints. However, he's won 6 straight fights. He's not lost since September 2018. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Promo code playoffs. 15% off. Boom. 2012 was his pro MMA debut. 1-0 as a pro boxer. 2 inches of reach on Basharat. He's got a positive striking differential in the UFC of plus 1.91 strikes per minute. So pretty solid there. Plus 240. Ferocious Farid Basharat. 11-0, 1 knockout, 6 submissions. He's 2-0 in the UFC, 1-0 Contender Series. He won his last fight via submission. Used to fight at featherweight. 2 inches taller than Lapilus, 5 years younger. More active landing strikes, better grappling stats. And he has a positive strike differential of plus 2.86 in the UFC and Contender Series, minus 250. Basharat is my pick here. Tough fight for him. Obviously, I think it's going to be the toughest fight he's had over his career, but I think grappling could be his path to victory here. But Basharat's my pick.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think grappling's the play here for Farid Basharat, and luckily for us, like that's how he fights. When he needs to grapple, he grapples. I will say I have concerns about Taylor Lapilus' grappling defense. He did stuff plenty of Cal Lauren's takedowns in that debut fight, but he gave up a couple. And the couple he gave up, like it was just like he got caught off balance and put on his ass, and like he went down on one of them without any fight. You know, like he just got thrown over like a dish rag. And I think Farid Basharat takes advantage of those situations far better than somebody like Cal Lauren. So, you know, Farid Basharat for me, I think grinds this one out. I will say to your point, I think the line's a little high. I don't particularly like Farid Basharat at this number. You know, we're going to talk about some other fights that are in the, you know, mid 200s that you might want to throw on parlays or use here. I think Farid Basharat's just kind of a stay away play here, but you know, he's my pick to win the fight.
Do you throw a lot of dish rags around?
I mean, you know what I mean? He just flopped over like a dish rag.
I know what you mean. I'm asking
throw it over the handle.
Do you throw a lot of dish rags around?
No, my wife does the dishes.
Aw, that's so sweet of her.
Yeah,
so chauvinistic of you.
She rules.
Yeah,
I alienate all 2 of our female listeners.
No, according to YouTube, we're still at 0%. But yeah, maybe podcast wise, we have more. Yeah, the line obviously is we would prefer a closer line here. You would think it would be too with how Lapilus has been doing lately, but maybe the Basharat name carries a lot of weight.
I think that's it. I think it's 100%.
Yeah.
We're paying Javid prices for Farid.
Yeah,
and I'm not into that.
Javid prices for Farid. So many possible titles for this episode. All right, we're gonna stick with bantamweights. Marcus McGhee, Gaston Bolanos. Bolanos, the Dream Killer. 7-3 with 6 knockouts. He's been submitted twice. 1-0 in the UFC. He's won 2 straight fights. Before that, he lost 2 straight fights. He has not lost, however, since February of 2020. 6-3 in Bellator. Used to be up at featherweight. 2-0 as a pro kickboxer. 4-0 as a Muay Thai fighter. 2 years younger than McGhee. Better striking stats. More active landing strikes. But this is based off of 1 fight for Bolanos. In that fight, he outstruck his opponent by 3.07 strikes per minute. So that'll get you some decent stats. He's at plus 215. The Maniac, McGhee, 8-1, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, and he's been submitted once. So this man owes us some rounds. He's 2-0 in the UFC as part of a 4-fight winning streak. An inch taller than Bolanos. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 1.61 strikes a minute. Better grappling stats than Bolanos, minus 250. Another big 250 line here.
Yeah, but this one is a way better one.
All right.
Yeah, like I think this is a fight tailor-made for Marcus McGhee. You know, I personally don't find Gaston Bolanos to be, or Bolanos, it's an Enye, Bolanos to be like, I think almost every bantamweight would beat him right now. I think he's one of the worst.
Every bantamweight.
I think he's one of the worst
bantamweight
in the UFC. I don't love his takedown defense. I think he's easily hittable. And he just so happens to be against a guy who I couldn't be higher on. Like, I can't be higher on Marcus McGhee. That dude goes in there, like, he fights like he's double parked. And man, when he hits people, they go to sleep. I'm absolutely impressed in Marcus McGhee. And I actually think, like, we have not in the UFC really seen his grappling skills come out, and they're there too. This is like the the best newbie out of, and he's kind of an older newbie. I mean, he looks like he's 46, but
he looks very old.
Yeah, he looks very old.
He's what, 34 or something?
I think he's a touch
30-something?
younger than me, which is like kind of a bummer when you look at him. But like, you know, I couldn't be higher out of him as a prospect from the lab, and he's like the first guy out of the lab, with the exception of Clayton Concrete, that I've been like big on in a while. He hits so hard. The grappling's there. He's up against maybe, like I said, maybe one of the worst bantamweights in the UFC. Yeah, like I don't know why this is still chilling at negative 250, but the fact that him and Farid Basharat are at the same price is wild to me.
Yeah, I can confirm he is a year younger than you, or a little less, a few months less than a year younger than you, Gumby. So
crazy.
You're aging better.
Yeah,
he's got a gray beard though. So
I got a little of the grays going on, but I'll take him over looking old.
Well, that's because you do the gentle art of jiu-jitsu. You don't get punched.
Yeah, I don't get punched in the head for a living, so that's cool.
No. I'm taking McGhee as well. Obviously he's a maniac. What more do you need to hear, right? You got to back the maniac. All I need. Exactly. All right, we're gonna get you the top 2 fights. Actually, yeah, let's give you one more fight. We'll give you one more before we take a break. It is what weight class? These guys are welterweights, right? Yes, welterweights. Matthew Semelsberger, Preston Parsons. Parsons, pleasure. Preston Parsons. Triple P is 10 and 4. Has
that always been his nickname?
Tapology, yeah.
I don't like that.
Kind of gross, right? I don't like it. We already have a pleasure man. We don't need pleasure Preston Parsons as well.
I wonder if Preston Parsons' dad gave him this nickname too.
Oh yes, I remember. Is this a like a demand, pleasure Preston Parsons, or what is this?
Ugh. No, I think it's in the middle. Put it in the middle. Preston
Pleasure Parsons.
Yeah.
So Preston Pleasures Parsons. Okay.
There's no
at least it's not us.
There's no S.
Not us this time, at least.
Dude, it's pressure. Yeah. It's not pleasure. I'm looking it up right now. It's pressure.
Get out of here, for real.
No, it's pressure. You just miscopied.
Get out of here. I put no. There's no way I would put pleasure.
I'm telling you, it's pressure. It's not pleasure.
Oh no! Oh, it is pressure. Oh my god, how embarrassing.
Yeah, there's a Freudian slip for you.
Hopefully, people are laughing. Pressure Preston Parsons. So we're supposed to pressure him. He's 10 and 4 with 9 submissions. That's amazing. That's amazing by me. He's been knocked out twice, submitted once. Oh, is this rounds? That means he's 1-2 in the UFC. Loss. Used to fight at lightweight. 2014 was his pro MMA debut. 3 years younger than Semelsberger. Better striking stats, better grappling stats, and he's outstruck his opponents by 0.38 strikes per minute in the UFC. Plus 110. Semi the Jedi. No mistake in that the nickname. I didn't mess that one up. He's 11 and 6. 6 knockouts, 1 submission. He's knocked out twice, submitted once. He's taking this fight on short notice. 5 and 4 in the UFC. However, he's lost 2 straight fights and only won 1 of his last 4. Lost his last fight via TKO. Used to fight at middleweight. Bantamweight. That he'd have to cut off a couple limbs for that. Middleweight. 2 inches taller than Parsons, 4 inches reach. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.3 strikes per minute, minus 130. I forgot this one was short notice, so I flipped on my pick. This one was a up in the air one for me. I will take the man not on short notice and a man that will or should hopefully uses his pressure, not pleasure, pressure wrestling. Something I think he can get over on Semelsberger. Don't stand and trade with Semelsberger, please. I think if Parsons wrestles, he can win this fight. Especially against short notice.
Can he wrestle Semelsberger?
I think he can.
Semelsberger comes from a wrestling background. You know, like he's
all right.
I mean, that's he comes from a wrestling background. I mean, like, didn't he win that fight with what was it? Was it Jake Matthews? I'm remembering. Or no, I might be misremembering that. But like he has plenty of wrestling.
Yeah, it was Jake Matthews. You're right.
Yeah, and he beat Jake Matthews, right?
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure
that's his only win in his last 4 fights.
And I'm pretty sure it's just by when stuff was not going well for him on the feet, he just took him down. Like my issue with Matthew Semelsberger has always been like, you know, his grappling's fine, but sometimes he gets thrown into a firefight and he shouldn't be in it. And luckily for him in this one, if he does get into a firefight, it could not go better for him, right? Preston Parsons is a guy who needs to wrestle, needs to use his jiu-jitsu. And I don't know that he'll be able to do that with Semelsberger. Semelsberger also does a pretty good job of fighting long. He's got nice straights in there that seem to stun people on the way in. You know, he's got quite a bit of power. If you want to go back to his, what was it, his UFC debut or his second fight where he knocked that guy out and not very much time. He's got big power. And so like for a guy who it's kind of grapple or bust for Preston Parsons, and I don't really trust his wrestling enough, I think you got to go Semelsberger here.
Yeah, no, I'm sticking with Parson. Semelsberger 50% takedown defense, and Parsons just spams takedowns. He over 7 attempted per minute. So I'm taking my chances on him against the short notice guy. But the short notice was the key thing that made me flip on it. So there you go. We differed on something finally, Gumby.
Yeah, is that our first one? That's because you tailed me. That's because you tailed me in the first.
It's true. It's true. We're not going to argue about Hall of Fame bets, so we're both in on that. You can win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea in the Hall of Fame bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame bets app or visit HOFBets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame bets. All right, main event of the prelims is a big boy fight. One of them a chunky guy. One of them's getting kind of old, so he's probably getting a little chunky as well. Heavyweight,
not though. Andrei. I mean, he doesn't look like his weird ass werewolf self from the 90s.
No,
but like he's still in pretty damn good shape.
Of course, we're talking about Gumby's boyfriend Andrei Arlovski versus Waldo Cortes-Acosta. We'll tell you about the Pitbull Arlovski first. 34-22 with 2-0 contests. So this will be fight 59. Am I right there? 56, 50. Yes, this will be fight number 59.
So many fights.
Yeah, he fight 60 at UFC 300 against Jim Miller. What do you say?
I mean, according to Anthony Smith, Jim Miller could beat Brock Lesnar. So I mean, like line up whatever you want.
Exactly.
What an insane thing to say. How hard did Roundtree hit that man?
Anthony Smith is an interesting fellow. All right, Arlovski has got 17 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out 12 times, submitted 3 times. 23-17 with 1 no contest in the UFC over 2 stints. He used to be the heavyweight champion back in the long ago days. He's lost 2 straight, both via finish, which was odd for him. He had a streak there where he was not getting finished by anyone. 4-2 over his last 6. 1999 was his pro MMA debut. So Jim Miller is not the oldest or not the most veteran or oldest fighter on this card. It'll be Andrei Arlovski. He was a Sambo champion. He has outstruck his UFC opponents by 0.58 strikes a minute. He's got better grappling stats than Cortes-Acosta, plus 525. No respect for the veteran. Salsa Boy. We got a Pitbull versus a Salsa Boy. Salsa Boy's 10-1. 5 knockouts, 1 submission, never been finished in a fight. 3-1 in the UFC. Do you remember the 3 people he has beaten, Gumby? It's a killer's row.
Lucas Brzeski was the last one.
Yeah.
Man, I really want to say Chase Sherman, but I don't think that's right.
I'm checking because it's.
I know he lost. Favorites. I can tell you who he lost to. He lost to Marcos Rogerio de Lima. I do remember that one.
Yep. It went Jared Vandera, Chase Sherman, lost to Rogerio de Lima, and then Lucas Brzeski. So three of the.
I got 2 out of 3. You can respect that.
I know. 3 of the elite in the UFC is who he's beaten. Won his last fight via TKO, 1-0 in Contender Series, 1-0 in Bellator, was the LFA champion, 5-3 as a pro boxer. Based on the last weigh-ins, he was 19 pounds heavier than Arlovski. He's also an inch taller and has got an inch of reach, and he's 12 years younger. He's more active landing strikes. He has outstruck his UFC and Contender Series opponents by almost 3 strikes a minute, plus 2.91, minus 549. Gumby, what are you doing here?
You know I'm going with Arlovski. I mean,
guess what? I am too.
Hell yeah.
I can't lay minus 549 on Salsa Boy. Come on.
No, on a guy I think sucks. And even
listen who he beat. We told you who he beat, everybody.
And let's put my fandom aside for 2 seconds here. Like Waldo Cortes-Acosta is not technical. He has not looked particularly good, and he's not looked particularly good against bad opposition. He's got a terrible gas tank. He throws every punch with bad intention and has a terrible sense of range. And look, you could talk about Arlovski coming off of a couple of bad finishes, but the bottom line is that like this is a guy who in his advanced age, and he is in an advanced age, has learned with Mike Brown to fight much smarter. He stays away from big shots as much as he can. And Waldo Cortes-Acosta he telegraphs them. They're really easy to see when they're coming. So if Andrei Arlovski is already somewhat unwilling to get into prolonged exchanges and to be near big power punches, I think he's just going to keep backing up, keep letting Waldo Cortes-Acosta throw like big overhand rights and like huge hooks that come up 6 inches short. And then by the second round, this dude's going to be exhausted. And really all it's going to take is Andrei Arlovski throwing half a dozen leg kicks every round, and he's going to win the second and third round here. I think the fact that this line is at 525 is absurd. I don't think anybody in their right mind should take Waldo Cortes. Look, if he fought Chase Sherman again, I would not bet him at 520 or 549. Negative 549 is not a good line against Chase Sherman for Waldo Cortes-Acosta.
Yeah, I don't on the show. I don't make picks based off of lines because I figure I should tell the listeners who I think is going to win, and then they can decide, if the line's decent or not. But yeah, the line definitely played into.
You can't even go out on a limb and say like, nah, I think he's going to win. So like, don't flush your money down. That's flushing your money down the toilet.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, no, I think this is a pretty not safe. I almost said safe. No, I think it's definitely worthy of our money for plus 525. Cortes-Acosta isn't good. So we're just eventually Arlovski's going to be done. He's going to go off the cliff, and that'll be it. No, he's not. Okay. So. All right, never mind. I was going to say hopefully that's not the case now because he's been finished twice. But is Don'Tale Mayes better than Cortes-Acosta?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you pick Don'Tale Mayes?
Yeah.
He's I think 20 times more athletic and has a takedown to his name.
Yeah.
Like, of course I would take Don'Tale Mayes. He also didn't he hump Jared Van Der's head?
Yeah. What more do you want, people?
Yeah. What was Cortes-Acosta doing? Playing patty cake to a decision, and meanwhile Don'Tale Mayes is out here humping his head.
Doing a salsa dance is what he was doing.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. That's it for this silly old show of ours. I'll give you a recap before we get out of here. Arlovski, he's got Semelsberger. I got Parsons. That's the only place we differ. Then we got McGhee. We got Basharat. We got Silva. We got Nolan. I forgot to put Dan's name down there. And we've got Bunes, right?
That's right.
Amazing. All right. Thank you for coming to the show and listening, folks. You catch us in Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. It's coming alive again now that UFC is back.
Yeah. Welcome back, folks.
Yep. So some people, only the hardcore of the hardcores are in there when there's no UFC for a long period of time. But yeah, people are coming back. So get in the Discord. Twitter is SGPN MMA. Gumby runs that. He's also a Gumby Vreeland. I'm a Jeff Fox writer on Twitter and on Instagram. My Substack is still running, moneymma.substack.com. Got pick'em contests. First pick'em contest of the year is up there now for the UFC event we're covering right now for you. So you can get in and play for free at moneymma.substack.com. Gumby alluded to the Top Turtle MMA podcast earlier. I haven't seen it in my feed yet, Gumby. What's going on here?
It'll probably come out the same time as this does. So if you're listening to this, it is
competition.
probably in your feed. And we're talking with the two fighters in the first fight of the night. I'm talking to Felipe Bunes in a fun Portuguese language interview, which I like and I enjoy doing. Those are kind of fun. And then I'm talking to Joshua Van right after it.
How is your Portuguese again?
I have an interpreter.
I know you do, but could you tell what he was saying?
I could understand like 3 or 4 of his answers, and but like obviously if I just continue to converse with him, then the listener doesn't get the translation. So no. I still have to wait.
And was the translator translating it properly?
Yeah, he was fantastic. He's also the manager, so he's a real good dude. Yeah, excellent dude. And it's the second time I've interviewed Bunes. I interviewed him before his LFA title fight against Yumo Horiguchi.
And how did that go? He won. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
You got the Gumby rub. And sportsgamblingpodcast.com and sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. And don't forget the merch store. Help us in our little friendly contest that may have money at the end of it for us if we win. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Playoffs is the promo code. Go buy all our merch. All right, we're going to be back tomorrow with some more UFC. The main card will be tomorrow. There'll be me, Salsa Boy, Jeff Fox, and of course the Pitbull Gumby Vreeland will be beside me as well. Or should I say pleasure? Gumby Vreeland will be there as well. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.